when we are doing the will of our true self, we are inevitably doing the will of the universe. In magic, these are seen as indistinguishable. That every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself. And as long as you are doing the will of the universe, then it is impossible to do anything wrong.
Between everybody and his total environment.
Every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself.
That side is tells us that there's no meaning at all in everything we see out there. That's external reality which can have no relation to human consciousness. Who writes the great books? It isn't we who sign our names. What is an artist? Is a man with antennae who knows how to hook up the currents in the cosmos or whatever.
My name is Reveler, and this is Pragmagick. In this podcast, we will journey through the investigation and application of metaphysical means to enhance and inspire what I consider to be the great unifying purpose of our short human existence, the creative process. And it's my intention to learn and reveal exercises that X-hex those inner oppressive thought patterns, as well as exorcising those lurking psychic vampires. So join me as I consort the unseen as means for getting the fuck out of creative stagnation. Stagnation that bewitches each and all of us, artists or not. In this episode, we discuss Saudade. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, it's a Portuguese term that, according to Wikipedia, is a deep emotional state of nostalgic or profound melancholic longing for an absent something or someone that one loves. Moreover, it often carries a repressed knowledge that the object of longing might never return. And our guest today on this episode of the Pragmagick Cast is Mr. Gabriel Hart, and he believes Saudade is the essence of the creative process. You might know Hart to be the main reveler in the neo-noir rock and roll gang known as Jail Weddings. And he chats with me, Revel Roz, about his journey into the high deserts of California from his Echo Park days and the writing that has been pouring out of him ever since. His new novelette, Nothing to See Here, is another entry into his anti-tourism propaganda, and it follows the follies of Connor and Luna and blurs the lines between fact and fiction. Not only have I been a fan of his music for over a decade, his writings have proven to be another inspirational addition to the folklore of an artist. So Slither, Hither, Weirdos, and Witches, and let's dive deep into the noir universe of Mr. Gabriel Hart. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Hopefully I'm not taking too much of your already crazy busy life.
No. I'm. It's Sunday evening. Everything's coming to a standstill.
Yeah, which I'm sure to get to your move to the high desert. But first, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions from personal questions I've had about you over the years and your process, specifically with Jail Weddings. Like, how the hell did you corral like 15 people at one time to tour and to record and rehearse?
Well, I was pretty fortunate. I mean, it was I kind of wiped the whole slate clean with the Starvations, and all this stuff was kind of converging in my life where I could just kind of I was just thinking like, I want to do something completely audacious. And I kind of cherry picked, you know, I wanted to make like a punk version of like the Wall of Sound thing. And totally. I kind of in order to, I guess, achieve the kind of, you know, the kind of gang concept. At first I kind of cherry picked, I mean, I know a lot of talented people, but I also wanted it to be kind of a threatening presence. That way it would kind of be like a gang, to where it wouldn't just be like the music we were playing. It would be the sort of shoulder to kind of lean on and fight with, you know what I mean?
It kind totally of was, yeah.
Brothers and sisters in arms kind of thing, like us against the world kind of thing. So I wanted it to be something more than the music, and I really got that. I kind of had to, in order to achieve that though, I kind of had to pick some of the gnarliest people I knew. You know what I mean? Like some of just so we could have the sort of orchestrated reputation that might precede ourselves.
And it did.
So what ended up happening, it was really organic the way the cohesiveness happened, because it ended up being, this kind of gang mentality and all, but so it self-policed itself, because it self-policed itself by way of fear. Because nobody wanted to be the one that was late to practice or causing trouble because they would have a 9-person lynch mob on their ass like immediately.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I kind of shiver when I think of those early days. It was like every day was kind of Judgment Day, but not really. It was more fun than anything. It was kind of, but that element of potential humiliation by the rest of the gang definitely helped run a tight ship. I didn't have to do much except write the songs, and luckily I had people that were I had the respect from the rest, and the gang kind of helped me police it.
That's incredible. I always think of switchblades and lipstick when I hear Joe Weddings. Yeah, I
mean, we did, we started, the Starvations, I think, started to become a parody of itself, and I really wanted to not have us fall to the same fate, especially in the early days. But yeah, I think, but at the same time, we wanted to kind of come across as a little campy and stuff, just to be that much more, I guess, rebellious. I think everyone was taking themselves very seriously in LA around that time, and we wanted to be a threat, but we also wanted to be like kind of a gross presence at the same time. And I think the sort of weird, like, backstreet thing was kind of just gross enough for people,
Well, I loved it. It always seemed like an answer to like or a middle finger to the hoity-toity Silver Lake kind of types.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. No, 100%. We were totally disgusted by the whole, I guess, blossoming psychedelic scene that was happening, and everyone wearing like their scarves and stuff, which is funny because now I'm friends with all those people, just because when you get older, you just don't care about stuff anymore, and you realize you have a lot of common ground with people that you thought you had to rail against,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. I was trying to make everyone be like, everyone like had to look really good, and always, we tried to wear suits and just be a total antithesis to that, because everyone, the bands were just looking like homeless people back then. Not that there's anything wrong with homeless people, but I felt like it was time for some reactionary art,
Yeah, it was trust fund, homeless chic kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was going to ask, like, as far as the community or Jail Weddings was concerned, and style and kind of like, I don't know, this congeniality of even just the visual aspects, the looks, and did that all come together kind of cohesively just by everyone's kind of antitheticalness to that scene, or was there some like?
Yeah, I think so. Like I just told everyone to look to, I guess it was kind of, in a way, it was kind of our version of like being mods in a way, because we were all kind of poor working class, but we wanted to be like this total antithesis to the hippies, basically, that were kind of overrunning Silver Lake at that time. So yeah, it was very much our own kind of skewed version of the whole mod sensation, I guess.
What's funny is that in a sense, though, it's kind of remained timeless. Like Jail Weddings seems to be a perennial kind of idea rather than it being stuck in some like, kind of kitschy, And so I was wondering if like, because I get a lot of like the James Ellroy kind of underbelly, LA noir kind of aspects to it, and as well as the Jack Parsons kind of, like a cult, Southern California feel. Was that ever deliberate? Or? Yeah,
no, I mean, definitely the Jack Parsons thing. We were, I don't know if you noticed the back of Meltdown. We took our picture at the spot right by JPL where him and L. Ron Hubbard used to do all their black magic rituals. Devil's Gate, they call it. So that's like, even way back to the Native Americans were convinced that the mouth of that skull cave was the portal to hell. And yeah, at the time I was reading Sex and Rockets, and I was just really consumed by the whole, just the thought, I guess the ambition of Jack Parsons, and also the realization, it's something I always knew in the back of my head, but the absolute proof that warfare is a result of black magic.
Totally.
Like rocketry. And that was like a big thing for me.
It even comes down to, I guess, just the creation of art in a sense, is always kind of parlayed as the cornerstone of that manifestation process. And I was wondering, like, what kind of energy was there when there was, 15 of you guys kind of in this ritual creating this thing together?
Really, it was a really giddy and really just kind of teetering out of control, but very, very focused, I would say. I mean, we had a really bad reputation around town. Like we would go on blind dates, and this happened 2 or 3 times. The girl would find out we were in Jail Weddings, and she would hightail it the other direction.
That's amazing.
But so we would have this really, getting kicked out of clubs and here and there. And honestly, I mean, a lot of really great missed opportunities because of that. I think there was this point where the Mars Volta was going to take us on tour, and I think one of our band members unfortunately fucked that up. But so we had this sort of bad reputation, and kind of to our detriment. But we were very focused. I mean, our work ethic was very, very focused. We would practice 3 times a week and for 4 hours at a time. And the songs, we had to, because the songs were really, really, the arrangements were,
they're intricate,
I guess, kind of deceptive. And they're, Brad and I, the sax player, initially we were working kind of overtime to make sure that we were creating something unique. So, we were living like a Sunset Strip band from the 80s, but our work ethic was very focused, and the group consciousness was very cohesive. We were really kind of haunted by this thing we would call Jail Wedding synchronicity, where the actual name came from this really wild instance of synchronicity where 2 of the band members hadn't met each other yet, and they were at the same spot by the Twin Tower Jail Correctional Facility downtown, and they both took a picture of the storefront that said Jail Weddings. We hadn't had a name yet, and one of them showed the picture, and the other one laughed and said they took the same picture at the same time. And so I'm all like, that's our name. That's just fate. But yeah, we were riddled. I think what happens, like Burroughs talked about that thing called the third mind. With us, there was definitely, a 10th or 11th mind happening. It was.
You guys kind of like created this folklore that ended up, actualizing.
Yeah, and oftentimes biting us in the ass too.
Right.
I have to say, yeah, it was very, at times it was very much like Jack Parsons getting blown up at his at his house in Pasadena because of an experiment. After many successful experiments, one, many of them went almost fatally wrong. So,
well, and
I guess that's another aspect you can relate.
Yeah, but just a quick side note: Jail Weddings is far from over. There's stuff in the works.
Oh
right?
yeah. No, we just finished recording and mixing our new record, Blood Moon Blue. Yeah, we're shopping it around right now. We have kind of a unfortunate habit of being on labels that end up sinking right after our records come out. So I hope that's not some weird curse we're responsible for. So yeah, we're kind of doing the lost puppy dog thing right now, but it's definitely the most probably the most ambitious record we've done so far, and the sound is kind of opened wide up too. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
This here Pragmagick podcast is brought to you by Portland, Oregon's open source art religion and Pragmagick Art Collective, We the Hallowed. For more information, please visit wethehallowed.org or support these fine, pious individuals at patreon.com/wethehallowed. Remember, that's hallowed like saintly. HALLOWED. Thank you. And hold on.
Kind of the recent flip in your folklore, which is at first I thought your move to the desert and the focus on solo, either music or writing specifically, was antithetical, and then I started thinking deeper, and it's like, no, you went from kind of this mythology of like the noir trash kind of LA thing, and then you went deeper into the underbelly, which is like the dark side of the moon of Hollywood, which is the high desert and the urban sprawl.
Oh yeah,
and the and the solidarity.
Yeah.
So
I
what
found
informed
myself in a really go on.
Oh no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I found myself in a really kind of weird, to put it in a sensationalistic sense, I found myself kind of getting consumed by the character my subconscious had created. You know what I mean? You know how everyone does that in the big city, like they build an identity for themselves.
Oh, totally.
Right? Like whether you admit it or not, it's just what people do, and I think however you would describe my the identity I'd created for myself, sort of not consciously, but sort of, you react to, it's environmental. And I think you react to it and you sculpt this kind of personality for yourself as kind of a shield in a way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that character totally started to just completely consume me. And I was just turning into a very bitter person that was just kind of, just giving dagger eyes to the youth coming up, and just all this really unnecessary sort of trappings that an aging rocker might fall into. So I knew I had to get out of LA. I kept on thinking, I'm gonna die here, and It's not gonna be romantic. The city is getting way too packed, and I've become this sort of unconsolable asshole, and I I better get out while I still have self-awareness of that. And yeah, I was able to move out here with my lady at the time, and yeah, just kind of start over. And yeah, LA, the desert's become so popular, you know, it's sort of like, of course, like like a year later after I moved out here, there's traffic, you know.
Right.
It's definitely become LA's backyard, which is, you know, I was really up in arms about at first, but you know, I take kind of pride in that.
And how many years have you been at this?
It's been three years, and it's nothing what I expected. I mean, I think I thought it was going to be completely different, and every day it just surprises me.
Were you hoping for it to be completely different, or like, you know, kind of
I was, but I just the challenges. I guess since you don't have that shield. Yeah. You don't have that shield of identity. Like everyone, if I held on to that identity out here, I think people would really see right through it real quick. I mean, one of the great things about the desert is that they could just see right through you out here.
Oh,
you know, everyone out here is very, very humble. And if you put on any kind of act or any kind of front, they'll just pick you apart, and you'll be kind of branded.
I'm from, you know, New Mexico and Arizona. That's where I grew up. Yeah.
So, you know the landscape, at least it's I guess just the challenge, I guess I wasn't, the challenges of having to really like re-meet myself and just kind of realize that I'm still like this scared, shy teenager that I always was, you know. That's a heavy load to swallow.
Yeah. So would you consider this move to be kind of like the wilderness years of, you know, kind of soul searching, or do you think this is an evolutionary?
I tried. I mean, yeah, I guess that was the misconception. Like I thought I was going to move out here and I was going to focus on writing, and I thought I was going to be like, you know, start writing all naturalist, you know, positive, you know, nature boy stuff like Thoreau or something.
Sure.
Like I wanted to really like, I felt like I needed to harness as much positivity in nature as I could. And you know, I started writing. I wrote this thing called Cinema of Life, this chapbook, which it's a little bit of a naive looking. It didn't age well because it was a very naive take on the desert, on a newcomer to the desert. And
this was the high desert anti-tourist propaganda.
Well, no, so it didn't.
Well,
Cinema
I guess
of Life
all of it
didn't. Yeah, Cinema of Life didn't age very well, and I was kind of embarrassed about it. Like when it came out, it's like one of those things where I reread it after it came out, and I'm all like, man, I sound like, you know, I think I said at that reading, like I sound like all these articles and these lifestyle magazines, just like beckoning people out to the desert, and that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant to do.
Right.
So John Paul from Space Cowboy and we kind of conjured up. We were drinking one night. We kind of conjured up this plan to start writing high desert anti-tourist propaganda. And so I started writing Nothing to See Here. But man, I swear, just like life imitating art and vice versa. Right when I started writing it, I didn't even have to exaggerate much. Like my life started to get really, really, my house kind of really started to turn into a real domestic dystopia, mainly due to the isolation and the challenges that come with the desert and stuff. And
I was going to ask, yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, how much of the Connor and Luna story like bleeds over into nonfiction?
I don't really, I kind of don't, I'd rather not say.
Okay.
I think it's, I mean.
No, that's awesome.
I got in a lot of trouble with my lady it was her first time dating a writer, and I don't think she really grasped the concept of fiction and writing as a means of exorcism and all that, which is really all I was doing. I wasn't trying to expose any real life soap opera stuff. I found myself in a really I found myself kind of without a voice, and this writing kind of turned into an emergency for me for my own mental health, just to get through the days and stuff. But so John Paul and I started this kind of concept in jest, and I think it turned into something way more real than I intended it to be. It kind of, once again, it's like so much stuff I do like ends up having like a careful what you wish for kind of thing. And that definitely, that sort of devious idea of writing anti-tourist propaganda was my own cross to bear.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's the way you talk about jail weddings and your writing so far just reminds me a lot of the kind of chaos magic processes behind like Grant Morrison and Alan Moore. How their art starts to imitate life rather than their life starts to imitate their art, and soon the medium becomes so blurred that it's like they can't help but just accidentally manifest shit when they put it to paper.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, 100%. I mean, you know what it is? It's like falling in love. And I guess the creative process and falling in love is really similar, because when you fall in love with a gal and there's that moment, there's that like zing moment where you feel like the present, you feel like the past, the present, and the future is all colliding at once.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean? It's really specific, and I think it really is. I think that really is happening. And I think it's interesting that when you do fall in love, you get this feeling of instant nostalgia.
Oh yeah. We talk about it. Yeah, with me and my my girlfriend now, we talk about it all the time. It's this kind of a sorrow when we're together, knowing that, the only thing we can equate it to is like, oh, there's going to be a time in the soon, the near future where we're not together, and while we're together, we are, lurking within that, and it's hilarious. Yeah. Well, okay. So I think the same thing happens in the creative process. I think when you have that like epiphany moment, it's like you have that feeling like this has happened before. Yeah. Or something. Yeah. Or like you almost get this you almost get scared of what you just wrote or what you just sang or whatever, because it's you feel this impending future and past colliding. Right. Okay. The Portuguese have a word for it. Do you know that word, saudade? I do. Yeah. I didn't know how to pronounce it. Or it's
I'm pretty sure you say saudade, but you know how it's spelled, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It's S-A-U. That's like my favorite word on earth.
That's amazing.
That's basically what it describes. It describes just this longing for a place that may have never existed.
Right.
It's very deep.
Yeah, I'm having one of those moments right now, because literally in the, kind of the courtship between my girlfriend and I, we would constantly send each other like close definitions or terms for what we were feeling. And that word was the one we kind of settled on. We're like, that's the closest one for what we're feeling.
It's one of the most powerful words out there, and one of those words that contains endless paragraphs in one word. It's like this. Finally, there's a word that describes this indescribable feeling. And if you've ever heard, do you know fado music, the Portuguese like regional?
Yeah, I mean, I know of it. Yeah,
it's all based on that feeling, and you really feel it through those songs.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that was definitely the word that kind of came closest to what we were experiencing. And I see what you mean as far as the creative process is concerned. How do you translate that? Like, it seems to me that could be almost, it's like accidental soothsaying, to a degree of which when you put something down and it's, kind of, and like your stories do entail a lot of sordid kind of affairs within people's lives, and, Like, is that do you feel a kind of damning at the same time every time you kind of
a little bit? Yeah. I mean, because I think, and I think it's a positive thing, but a lot of stuff I write will scare the shit out of me because of that feeling. I think that feeling of love or that epiphany within art is like, it's that feeling of epiphany, but also something bad, or maybe not bad, but something like heavy is about to happen. Where you like want to surrender to the moment, but you also have to feel like you have to like
let it go.
Your eyes start twitching, and you have to like be on guard in a way. I don't know.
Totally.
It's strange, but I think, I don't know if you've ever been to therapy, but that's also what happens in therapy. When you're talking to your therapist, you'll have those moments of epiphany, like a breakthrough, where you'll feel this relief, like something got unlocked, but then you'll feel like that much more naked as a result.
What happens to me,
like,
is
as if the therapist took a piece of your armor off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think there was a great quote. God, was it in? Might have been in. I was watching that Strange Angel.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited.
I think it might have been in that, but I heard this great quote where they say, like, and I'm totally paraphrasing, but love is, so the lovers you meet in your life will unlock tiny parts of yourself, but only one person will actually set you free. You know, so I think that's maybe part of the creative process as well, is just unlocking certain parts of yourself. I mean, essentially, the creative process is self-love. It's masturbatory. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
yeah.
you could definitely kind of relate the two.
Now, are you a person that, like, you know, with this, your art or your output has been so affected by this major, like, shift in consciousness, from, you know, even just, you know, the group dynamics of the gang band to a solitary writing existence? Do you feel that you need to shuffle that much to kind of revive new chapters?
What do you mean? Like,
do you find it more beneficial to make a seismic shift every couple of years?
It's never something I premeditate. This has been me moving to the desert's been probably one of the, you know, a lot of people thought I was losing the plot a bit, or like throwing a monkey wrench in my whole trip, but no, my world is just completely opened up as a result. I mean, you know, like, if I'm ever in a bad mood in my house, I just walk outside and I'm no longer in that bad mood. In the city, I would walk outside and I would be in an even worse mood as a result. You know,
right? So
it's,
I guess what I'm saying is, because it seems like, you know, you've generated so much in those different facets. Do you feel that, like, you're a person that's looking for kind of a situation to last, or do you think that you're the type that would kind of benefit from big changes every few years or so?
I don't know.
Artistically, I guess.
I think something like jail weddings never has to end.
Right.
You know, I don't see any reason why it would end. I could do whatever I want with it as long as I have a trusty group behind me that are, you know, firing on all their cylinders.
Totally.
And I think writing is something that, you know, would never end. I mean, I think it's funny. I was doing this interview the other day, and they asked me very basic questions like, what's your favorite thing about life?
Those are the hardest.
They said, what is your thing you most dislike about life? and then they asked me what I'm doing in the desert, and I answered chasing divinity to all three questions.
Nice.
So I think that yeah, it's funny how something like that, like, you know, a concept like that could be your favorite and least favorite, you know, most elusive thing at the same time. Like the process of chasing divinity can be rewarding and elusive at the same time.
Oh yeah, to me it's just constant, you know, kind of spiritual death and rebirth. You know, every time a record comes out, it feels like it's kind of like release, you know. But I wanted to ask, as far as the writing is concerned, how to get to the more pragmatic side of things, have you found, just walk me through like what a normal like writing session looks like to you, like what time of day, like how?
Always the morning. Yeah. I think starting something when the sun is rising is paramount. Yeah, like start in the morning, but I definitely don't have, you know, some days I'll write 5 pages, some days I'll write 5 sentences, some days I'll write 1 sentence and walk away. You know, I definitely don't have a
word
discipline
count
with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, I'm not one of those people that thinks, you know. I know Nick Cave talks about clocking into his office for 8 hours and writing, and I think if you know, I can never imagine doing that. Writing is still holds a large amount of rebellion for me, and just having that kind of having a schedule like that just is a big turnoff for me. And I don't think your creative reservoirs work in that way.
Right.
I don't think they're made to really work in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I think the creative process is totally proof that time is nonlinear, and yeah, I would never dream of putting a clock on it. But yeah, there is those days where I realize I'd been writing all day and I feel really good about myself, you know.
Right, yeah. And is there
but it's not something I flog myself if I don't do, you know.
Right. And I think the thing I liked about Nick Cave's process is that, you know, he mentioned that he spends most of the time dicking around, but it's the fact that he, you know, gets out of bed.
Dicking around is so important.
It is.
That's such an important aspect of that. Like,
yeah, but the fact that he goes there and it's around for that 8 hours, you know, so for when it grabs him,
you have to dick around. I mean, as long as you stay off the internet and stuff, you know, but
right.
You know, I think, but yeah, I can't remember what writer it was. Some writer says, you know, a large part of her writing is just staring out the window, and I thought that was really beautiful. I wish I could remember who that was. It was a famous female writer.
Yeah, it sounds like Virginia Woolf kind of situation.
But yeah, there's so much of writing has little to do with the actual writing of it, and I think that's not to be overlooked.
Oh, well, that brings me to a big question I have for you. For someone that is like so fervent in many different mediums, from music to writing, like how is time management and, you know, discipline kind of, how do you continue the output, the consistency, and the like ferocity, you know? Do you have any tactics as far as like these 3 months I'm focusing on these next 3 months?
Okay, like every day I tell myself I have to do something today. I have to do something today besides my day job. I have to produce something today because it's therapy it's for my own mental health. Like, and I'll ask myself often, like, what are you willing to do today? And often what I'm willing to do, I often exceed what I'm willing to do. So I think that's a good place to start. But yeah, I think about the rush I get when I create something, and how it kind of keeps that rush kind of keeps the darkness that ends up consuming a lot of creative people at bay. And that's kind of enough motivation for me. You know, it's not meeting goals necessarily, you know. 2 weeks ago, I thought I'm working on this novel right now. I thought I was going to finish it that day, and I'm still working on it 4 weeks later, you know. So sometimes if you set goals, especially with something as wily as writing, you kind of you put a cap on something that might be more wild than you thought.
Well, I was going to ask what like the biggest differences you see from, you know, getting people a book to getting people a record. Like what are the kind of the biggest tactics you're finding the differences in promotion?
Are you talking about like the audience or the
or yeah, like how you get your writing in front of somebody as opposed to like how you would have, you know, got your, or somebody would listen to your record. I feel like it's harder just from somebody like me who's a total novice, you know, skirting the world of this. Like it's harder to get somebody to read than it would be to listen, and that was even hard.
Oh sure. It's a natural, I think it's natural to have that be a harder commitment to people, but it's also, I mean, it was interesting to me, you know, when I went up to Portland last month, like way more people came to my reading than to my solo acoustic show. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Weird.
I think I don't know. I think people like things that are new, you know, to put it in a very base terms. And I think if you're showing that you can express yourself in more than one way, I think that might be an appealing thing to people, and I think that they might be more willing to spend time with something you've written rather than something that they could finish in 2 minutes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also just a totally new world to me. But
well, you're killing it.
Yeah, I don't.
You're killing it. These novelettes or the chapbooks are just like, I don't know, the perfect answer to a single. You know what I mean? Like you're building up to a novel, which is really cool.
I was really I'll be honest, I used to really kind of scoff at the chapbook thing back in the day before I started making them. I'm all like, oh, these are just like, you know, I had a horrible attitude towards them, you know, but after my first one, I'm all like, this is a vital format, you know. I don't know why everyone isn't making these little things. I think it's a way more permanent, like vital format than people give it credit for. I think maybe chapbooks get kind of lost in the whole zine world and stuff, but I think for anyone who's struggling to, you know, get their foot into the publishing world, it's a great calling card, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's so this Nothing to See Here is the first of what, 3?
Yeah, well, we kind of it's the second.
Right.
That Cinema of Life book would be the first. But so yeah, we were going to make a serialized novel and have it come out first in these chapbooks, but the novel's getting the story's getting so erratic and going into directions I didn't think it was going to go, and it's getting a little John Paul from Space Cowboy kind of made the executive decision with the third installment that he said that I don't think this would translate in a chapbook form, and I totally agreed with him. I was really thankful that he brought that up. It was so I'm just trying to finish the fourth segment right now, and then we're going to release it in soft cover novel form in either next year or the year after that.
Very cool. And that's the big, big one you're working on.
What's that?
That's the big one you're working on, right?
Yeah. Well, this one, I have these twin novels that were supposed to come out in fall, and I think they still might. I'm negotiating with another imprint right now, but I have these twin novels coming out that I've been working on them for about 10 years now. One's, and they're twin novels, so they have to be kind of read together, but they're going to be under the same spine. It's called Virgins in Reverse, and the second one's called The Intrusion.
I like those together.
Virgins in Reverse is kind of a coming of age tale of growing up in seedy Hollywood and then meeting this woman, and then it uses I don't know if you know about the emerald wasp and the cockroach. Have you heard of this weird kink of nature? So the emerald wasp, it's this really beautiful green translucent female wasp, and she hunts the cockroach, and she stings as part of its brain that renders its motor skills useless, and then she lays her eggs inside its abdomen and uses its antennas to steer it back to it. Basically turns it into a zombie cockroach,
like a puppet. Yeah,
and she uses it to she steers it back to her nest, and then she covers the nest up with rocks and basically waits for the cockroach to explode with wasp babies. So I'm using that as kind of Burroughsian sort of blueprint for a young couple domesticating too early.
That's brilliant. That's amazing.
And then The Intrusion, it uses kind of the same characters that have evolved or kind of de-evolved, and The Intrusion is about, kind of explores the correlations between spirit possession and alcoholic blackouts.
Huh.
And the similarities are just super staggering. I mean, I have like a chart when I do readings of it, and it's all basically the same symptoms. So the two stories are essentially connected, but I can't really tell you how until you read the book. So I believe it's still going to come out this year, but these have to come out first before the desert novel comes out, because those are also going to be kind of connected. It's strange.
I wanted to ask, if you were creating, even like there's some characters in like the solo record, and like Death Country and stuff. I just see a lot of correlation between the mediums, even through fiction. And I was wondering, are you creating kind of a shared universe?
I didn't realize I was until very recently. I'm right. So the desert novel is loosely titled Lies of Heaven. And I didn't realize I was until just 2 days ago. I didn't realize that they were all going to be connected until 2 days ago. Yeah, and it all had to do with just naming one person that was eluding me. I didn't know what his name was, and I'm all like, oh fuck, this is way crazier than I thought it was going to be. And I think that's a really good sign when you don't quite know what you're doing. When you know what you're doing, but then the tiniest sleight of hand will just surprise the hell out of you,
Yeah, just kind of write itself after that. Yeah, that's amazing. And then thank you so much for speaking with me, man. I just wanted to close with one thing. I'm trying to kind of navigate this podcast into less of a two dudes talking about esoteric stuff, and I want it to kind of be more pragmatic, as sort of a guinea pig as I kind of journey into figuring my shit out creatively, spiritually, whatever. And I was wondering if you had any daily kind of tactic or process that you would give as advice to aspiring artists of any type, of any caliber, and maybe even something that I could employ for the next 2 weeks and report on, in 2 weeks.
Oh God. I'd have to think about that one. Geez, as derailing as it sounds, I would say just make as many mistakes as possible and just learn all your lessons the hard way. I think that and I think you'll be surprised with what you come up with, as long as you don't get carried away with that. But I guess just don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah. Well.
And try to keep your mistakes private. Try to keep your mistakes private so it looks like you meant to do it.
I like it. Yeah, because like when there's that line blur between, am I writing, or am I releasing writing about myself, or is it, fictionalized?
Yeah, definitely.
So is that really? It's just about kind of staying mum on social media, less.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I've kind of. I'm pretty scarce on there, and my life's gotten a lot more illuminating as a result. I think, people don't have to know everything about you unless they ask, And even then, they don't really need to know.
I totally agree, and I feel the same about other people. So why shouldn't I feel the same about me?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Gabe, thanks so much, man. I will definitely include a little review of Nothing to See Here in the article/show notes. I love it. I love where it's going. It really speaks to me as in the desert in my heart. So.
Great.
Always been a huge fan, man. I really appreciate it, and I will.
Thank you, man. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, we'll catch up soon to talk about that novel in the fall.
Yeah, and I might give you a call later to pick your brain about Cactus Crown as well. It's been totally glued to my car stereo. So. Oh
man, I couldn't be happier. That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to get some quotes out of you about it. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, thanks, man. Quid pro quo.
What's that?
Say quid pro quo.
Right back at you.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, cheers. Have a good night.
See ya. There you have it, folks. Mr. Gabriel Hart. You can buy Nothing to See Here, his new novelette we were discussing, at Space Cowboy Books. I believe the website is spacecowboybooks.blogspot.com. Please listen to all of his music. You can find that at jailweddings.bandcamp.com. Listen to his crazy 15-person plus ensemble and street gang known as Jail Weddings, but also listen to his collection of solo music. Post his incredible early band, the Starvations, which was a high school favorite of mine. Speaking of his solo work, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to be placing his track Death Country, because I believe, it's extremely fitting, considering his protagonists in his new book, Connor and Luna, are rollicking through the death country that is the high desert. I had the pleasure of reading with Gabe a few months ago at Mother Foucault's Books here in Portland. It was my first public reading. Shaky, but cherry has been popped, as they say, so I hope to do more of those. Consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/wethehallowed for podcast extras, music, my new album as Dakota Slim, which Gabe also wrote a beautiful review about. I will include a link in the show notes for that. And stay tuned. Here's Death Country from Mr. Gabriel Hart and The Fourth Wall.
When there's no dialogue, choose wild stairs. And these are the loose tales. When there's no sign of God, cemetery chose you.